Hello and welcome to Mostly Sapphic Books, where I am on a mission to read every single book about lesbians. Today we have a quick graphic novel review. This is The Hills of Estrella Roja by Ashley Robin Franklin. This is a paranormal YA mystery. We have Kat Fields, I think she's in college. She has a cryptid podcast, and she spends like her spring break traveling to this town, Estrella Roja, is that the name of the town? That's the name of the phenomenon, where there are these hills and they see all these red stars. Estrella Roja means red stars. She's gotten this tip about this paranormal activity here that really no one has ever investigated, and so she goes by herself. She has a best friend, Clem, who does the podcast with her, but they're, on spring break with, their friends, and they're like, really, you're gonna go investigate paranormal stuff during your school break all by yourself? That's kind of crazy. But she goes anyway. And she goes to this town, and it's a really small town. She's not even hotels. She's sleeping in her car. Everyone hates her because no one comes here. There are no outsiders. She's very strange here. The only person who talks to her is this little butch, Mari. She was born in this town, but moved away. Her mom moved her and her sister away when they were very young. She has come back for her grandmother's funeral. And she also feels like an outcast here. Like, she knows her family. She's related to a lot of the town because it's a small town. But they're like, you're still an outsider. And so she doesn't really feel welcomed here. And then she runs into Kat, and they're gay. So they keep, making eyes at each other. And, end up getting along because Mari is the only person Kat can interview for her podcast, and the only person who knows anything about the town and, wants to talk to her. So obviously they go on a little adventure together. It's really a slow burn romance. There's a lot of, cute setup moments that are kind of cliche little tropes. There's a point where, there's only one bed. Mari finds out that Kat is sleeping in her car, and it's like, you shouldn't sleep in your car. Just go sleep in my bed with me. Or, I'll sleep on the floor and you sleep on the bed. But, oh no, that's rude. We should both sleep in the bed. The bed's big enough. Or, they accidentally touch hands, or they, keep looking at each other across the diner, and then, getting all shy about it. There's a funny moment where they're close enough to almost kiss, and then they fall over, and then they almost kiss again, and then something else happens and they can't. It's the classic little romance tropes. It's a pretty slow burn romance, but it's gonna get there. It's cute. It's simple. I like that there's a little butch here. She's still in high school, but she's got the short hair, and she's cool. I like her. The paranormal stuff too is pretty slow burn. We don't really start seeing super paranormal stuff until the back half of the novel. I would say this is kind of slow paced. Never in a way that's really bad or distracting. But I did notice where a lot of other graphic novels, especially, which I find to be pretty fast paced. This was really dragging it out. It had extra scenes, or you could potentially slim this down. But this book was really going for that kind of slow burn romance and the sort of suspense of it all. So it kind of worked. I think it was doing what it wanted to do. I don't think it needed to be faster paced necessarily, but it is just something of note that it is a bit slower paced. I didn't think the writing was super bad. I didn't think it was the most polished, incredible story, condensed, succinct, beautiful, perfect masterpiece of all time. But I felt like this artist was also a writer and cared about the story and had some talent. Sometimes you read graphic novels written by the person who drew it, and you're like, you're better at one of these things than the other. And usually that's the art. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes they're not good at either thing. This artist was also good at writing. What struck me most about this art style was actually the coloring. The coloring's beautiful. And then I got to the end of the book and it said someone else did the coloring. So here I was the whole time reading this, praising the author for this beautiful color work. And then they didn't do that. I also learned that this was drawn by hand, which I didn't expect that. I don't know. I'm not an artist, so I can't recognize super digital art versus hand drawn. But I guess it does have a hand drawn style. There's a sort of looseness to it, or I don't know, authentic. It's loose. That's a good way to describe it. It's kind of flowy in some of the lines, and some of the shapes don't close together, but in a stylistic way that I think works. But the coloring was really spectacular and ambitious. You would see a whole page set in the same scene, and all the characters would be different colors, in every different panel. And some of that was pure style. Some of it was angles or lighting, or just to show a different angle, or to add like suspense, like dramatic suspense, like a close-up, and it's like, oh no, she's realizing something, and the colors are different. But it all had this beautiful lush color palette of like blues and purples and pinks. I thought it was gorgeous to look at, and it was never confusing. Even in the same scene when there's all these different colors, it was almost never confusing. There was like maybe a couple of times where like a couple of the characters looked the same, like the aunt and the cousin kind of looked the same, and different lighting. It was like, who was that? But for the most part, it's totally solid. You can totally tell what's happening. There was like one scene where like someone's hand is like out of frame, and I'm like, what? Whose hand is that? And then I figured it out. But it's really clear, and I think it's kind of hard to do that, like show that clear kind of style with all these different colors and like these sort of drastic changes between panels. I thought that was impressively done, and I thought it was beautiful to look at. That was my favorite thing about this. I did like the story too, though. I like a paranormal kind of story. I like a good cryptid investigation, and I've been known to watch a YouTube video about spooky mystery. Was this aliens? And the things here aren't aliens, they're lechuzas. So our monsters here are owl witches. Witches who can turn into owls. And they actually look freaky. Like, again, we don't really see them till the back half of the book, so it's kind of spoilers to even, like, show you a picture of them, but, like, they actually looked freaky. Like, it was an owl body with a human head, like, proportionally a human head on an owl body, and the heads were, like, ginormous, and it looked fucking weird and, like, uncanny creepy. And I've never seen that before. I don't think I've ever read a story about these lechuzas. I actually had to look up if that was a real thing or if it was invented for this book. I also looked up if this town was real, because I thought it was for some reason. I feel like I'd heard of Estrella Roja before, but I guess I hadn't, because I don't think that's a real thing. Maybe I'd seen this book somewhere before, or I'm just thinking of, like, general aliens. Sometimes spaceships have the red lights, allegedly. Spaceships have the red lights. But I thought the paranormal stuff was cool, because it was something I hadn't seen before, so it's not, like, super played out. It's a pretty, like, classic, I'm a paranormal investigator and I'm a go-getter, and even though everyone hates me and tells me not to investigate it, I'm gonna keep going and be determined. She's sort of a dogged journalist and, you know, overeager and young. So it's a pretty classic story in a lot of ways, but I thought that was a refreshing monster to have included in this, because it was something I hadn't seen before. And that kept it kind of fresh in a story with, like, a lot of tropes and, like, fun cliche stuff. It's cliche, it's not like new or groundbreaking, but it's fun, and I liked it. And it's gay. It's a gay twist on all those fun tropes. If you put a butch in your story, I will like it more. I am biased. And there's some fun twists with the paranormal stuff. Some of it you can see coming, like why the town is so secretive. But then there's layers to it. There's things you don't expect or, like, haven't been hinted at. And the things that you do predict have obviously been hinted at. Obviously the town is keeping a secret and sort of knows what's going on and what's up there. But I thought this was fun. Sort of slow paced, but not too long and not too short. Good length. Good story. Good coloring. Loved the coloring. Beautiful coloring. I forget the name of the colorer now. I'll have to look that up. Colorist? Colorist sounds like I'm prejudiced against people based on their color. But I do think colorist is the actual term there. This was pretty good. Pretty good YA, gay, supernatural graphic novel, if you're into that. I'll keep this review short. This is the shortest video I've filmed in ages, so yay. Yay for both of us. Have a good night. Enjoy your reading.